the home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
Views,
there's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
Sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.
Hey, you are on the Leadership Masterclass. One of the things that's exciting about the work that I do is that I get to speak to people who do very inspirational things across the world. And I think this year, you have been aware, we actually have put a lot more fire around tracking all of that stuff in terms of what's happening. We've been working now with the G20. We've been doing some work with the Values 20. We've been doing some stuff with the city of Tshwane where we are based, which has been exciting, celebrating unsung women. But we are also having one of the exciting programs that I've come across before. But when I met Nina, I think a couple of months ago, who is with us and some of the colleagues, the Global Oneness Project, I said we absolutely have to speak on Vuga Online about this. So that's what we are going to do today. Nina, you are not new to the show. You've been here with the Hope Makers before. Welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much. And today, what we're going to be doing is sharing about our program. And I have invited very poignant, relevant guests to explain the process and what it really means to do this. So thank you for inviting us.
Yes. And I think maybe what's good, first of all, is to start with the introductions, right? Let's see who is in the room. And maybe let's not take it for granted, Nina. I mean, I think everybody knows who Nina Meyerhof is, but can you share a little bit
Sure.
for those who have been under the rock? Who are you? And then let's Jesse and Diane also introduce themselves afterwards.
So, as an elder, I've done a lot of things in my life. Yes, because I've been dedicated to understanding how we can move humanity into a higher perspective and really create a world that works for everyone. And that's the ultimate goal for life. Yeah, to serve from our hearts and to give and to create something that really is a future that's better than what we see in front of us now. So I am president and founder of Children of the Earth, and I also worked in another nonprofit called One Humanity Institute. And the ideas being exactly what I've said. So I'm happy to be here and to share with you all. Thank you.
Excellent. And let's go to you, Sam.
Absolutely. I am very excited to be here. So my name is Samuel Jacobs-Abbey, and I'm based in Virginia in the Washington, D.C. Metro area. Uh, I work for an institution called, which I founded together with my wife and a few individuals who have passion for leadership. So it's called the Jacobs-Abbey Global Institute for Leadership Studies, uh, with a simple purpose to uh, change mindsets. We believe that nothing in this world can shift except the mind is shifted. So our mission is just to help folks move from fixed mindset into a growth mindset. I have been doing this work for such a long time. We've trained close to 10,000 people across the globe as far as leadership it's concerned. And we are excited always to have an opportunity to talk about wonderful programs across the world. So if you search on the internet or if you try to look for me, you will realize that I am always associated with good projects. Once it's good, I will be there. No money asked, just dedication to make it happen. So it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome, Sam. And over to you, Diane.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mo, for inviting us to be part of this program. I was inspired by the fact that you are putting out inspiring programs, because we know what we see on TV and here on the radio, could be quite depressing, but you are offering us hope. And just the other day at the United Nations, they celebrated the International Day of Hope. So that's what we need right now in the world more than ever. So, and speaking of hope, I'm the coordinator of a working group that all of us are part of. It's called the Global Oneness Working Group, and that's part of the NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns, which is a committee of the Conference of NGOs in Consultative Relationship with the United Nations. So we work very closely with the UN as a working group. And we're hoping to get our day, Global Oneness Day, passed at the United Nations. So that's what we're all working very steadily on. And I'm also the president and the founder of the Source of Synergy Foundation. And what we do is we try to bring individuals, organizations, networks, and beyond together in synergy so we can cooperate and create a world that works for all, like Nina would say.
Sounds fantastic. I'm looking forward to having a lot more conversation about that. And then also we have Jessie. Go ahead, Jessie.
Dr. Mo, thank you for having us, as we have all said, and I hope you're not picking up on the police sirens in the back. Right now, I'm sitting in New York City, but typically I sit right outside of Washington, D.C. So I think, Sammy, you and I are probably closer neighbors than we think. And so I'm really excited to be here with this group of luminaries. And I like the word luminaries quite a bit because, to your point, Diane, and to your point, Dr. Mo, there is a lot of darkness and shadow in the world now that we could consume and experience. But all 5 of the people sitting on this call now are doing their work in their own way, collectively and respectively, to shine light in spaces where there is hope and inspiration. And so I come into this community as a storyteller and a dream designer. And that builds off of around 21 years of work focusing on learning design and developing organizational culture inside of organizations. And now, much like Sammy, I find myself being drawn to good work. And it's almost that domino effect of you set your soul to create good impact and align that to goals that can create flourishing and thriving throughout the world. And that's how I happened to come upon Dr. Nina Meyerhof, and we connected about how do we amplify the voice and the platform that youth have in connecting their soul's purpose to the work they put their hands to, and what are the programs, what are the platforms, what are the places that we can create for them and with them, underscore on with them, in creating, again, just the idea that there is hope beyond the anxiety that we're experiencing. There's a lot of data that supports why we should feel the sort of abysmal sense of dread. And so we are all doing the yeoman's work now together, collectively, now centered on the Global Oneness Day project, and then seeing where that radiates afterwards. And so, again, really excited and honored to be here and have this conversation with you all.
Fantastic. It's great to meet everyone. Thanks, Jesse, about that. So before we actually talk then about this global oneness, because we've now done introductions. You know who you have in the room. You know who we are going to be talking about. We're going to take a very quick short break, because I don't want to interfere with the question. So what is this Global Oneness project? Before we even talk about the Global Oneness Day, what is this Global Oneness Project? But we'll do that just after this break. We'll be back.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria. with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
Yeah, welcome back to the Leadership Masterclass. And we are chilling to leadership, as we always do. People chill to jazz, people chill to music and all of that. But on this show, we chill to leadership. And the leadership we're talking about today is global leadership around oneness. So, Nina, I think maybe let me start with you. You introduced this whole concept. I know a little bit about what the global oneness is, but maybe if you can tell us a little bit, what is the Global Oneness Project, first of all, before we talk
What
about
I like to
what.
do, if you don't mind, is ask Diane, who is furthering it in the UN, and that's how we started. Yeah. And then I'll tell you about how it grows.
Go
Thank you.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Nina. Well, as you might know, the 80th anniversary of the UN will be on October 24th of this year. And our Global Oneness Day, we are going to honor that occasion. We're hoping to get a day passed by the UN General Assembly. Right now, we're in that process. We need to get a sponsor, an ambassador from one of the permanent representatives, missions of the UN, to say, okay, I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to champion it, and I'm going to get it passed by the General Assembly. So we're just inspired by, I was just at the UN the other day, and they have an exhibition of how the United Nations started. And it started because after World War II, many of the countries said, we can never have, this is just so horrific. So we want to prevent war in the future. And one of the best ways to do that is through global cooperation. So many countries came together and they wrote this charter of the United Nations, which it starts with, we the peoples of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. So that was their initial impulse. They were inspired to really work together in the sense of cooperation. So we said, we really want to honor this amazing moment in time by having a day that's dedicated to oneness. So we're calling it Global Oneness Day. And we want to do that on the day after the UN celebrates their birthday, because the UN has many activities on the 24th of October. So we want to make our day the 25th of October. So we drafted a resolution that we will be presenting, as I was saying, to the General Assembly, and then hopefully they'll adopt it. So yes, so we've been working together for many months to try to put all the different pieces in force to really make this happen. And we feel that once this day is created, it will start to create momentum and critical mass around the world. It's already celebrated in 150 countries around the world right now. But we feel if the UN adopts it, just like the International Day of Peace, which is on September 21st, that started. And then once it started trickling out. And now so many countries around the world, in schools and communities, they're celebrating International Day of Peace. So we feel the same thing will happen with oneness. And we're really looking forward to being able to put this in action, because we know that this is how cooperation starts. And we really believe there would be no poverty or climate change or human rights abuses in the world if we recognize each other as a human family.
Yeah. Nina, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'd like to piggyback on what Diane said, and there's many interpretation of what oneness is. So, and if you listen, Global Oneness Day, you see that it starts with G-O-D. And oneness can mean on the highest level that we really are one, the essence of one. So how do we live that, and what does that really mean? That is how we're taking it out into the world. So we're planning youth programs that represent that.
Yeah. This is interesting. I mean, I like your take now, Nina, as well when you bring it. So I'm gonna do two things. So one of the questions is a bit controversial, but I'll come back to it a little bit. So let's start here where you are. This sounds like a very difficult piece of work. First of all, this whole oneness piece, right? So, as having studied neuroscience, one of the things that happen is that our brain is already designed to create so much fear around us coming together. So in a sense, one could be saying we are fighting against our primitive nature. So that's one part. However, there's also another part about this question that says many people talk about we are one species, we are one humanity in this instant. So this makes this job that the group of you are trying to do very hard. What would you say to that?
Well, I'll jump in because what we're doing is working with young people who are the engine of the future, yeah? And their minds are more liberated than the elders, yes? And as much as there is the science of fear, there's the science of love. And that is not an abstract. And there's a curriculum emerging called Soul Curriculum, and that is Science of Unitive Love. And we're going to be using that program at Samuel's meeting in Romania. So I turn it over to Samuel.
Yes,
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. And that's a very interesting question you asked, Dr. Mo. One of the things that I personally believe is if everything is that smooth, if everything is that simple, even when you have successfully accomplished it, there's no love, there's no joy. You don't really feel it because it came on a silver platter. You know, you can sit back and go back and then look at it and say, damn, we did it. And so toughness is great. The perspective at which you look at a thing actually makes it worth fighting for. Just as Diane and Nina have talked about the Global Oneness Project, I personally believe that it's a laudable thing for us as individuals, irrespective of our race, our intentions, our geographical location, to appreciate and understand the fact that being together, it always brings a strength that the world haven't seen before. Now, just as Dan talked about the composition of the United Nations, if you go back to the League of Nations and then transit into the formation of the United Nations, you will see there was a reason why the League of Nations failed, because of lack of unity, lack of oneness. And since 1945 until today, the United Nations still stands strong in as much as it has its own challenges and frustrations here and there. But I believe that the silos programs like the International Day of Peace, International Day of Hope, and soon to be the Global Oneness program will continue to foster that understanding, that unity. And then to Nina's point, how do we accomplish such a task? We need to have different demographics and engage them at different levels. So one of the things we're doing is that in 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Romania, where we are bringing young people, well, mid-level adults from across the globe. Majority of them are coming from West Africa. Now, the whole concept is how do we integrate those cultural diversities? How do we build that culture of inclusiveness? How do we appreciate and understand that we may have different cultural background, but yet we are one people? And if we integrate this diversity in one space, imagine the energy that we'll create together. Because irrespective of where we came from, we see ourselves as people, as one people, rather than geographical or location differences. And that is the whole essence and the whole concept of bringing people together. But to wrap up, I would say that I've been in, of course, Nina and Diana have been in leadership more than I have. But the few years that I have been championing leadership, I have come to the realization that when they say no, that is when we take up the pieces and we prove to them that we are capable. And so I have a phrase. I always say that, well, let's kill them with our success and bury them with our smile.
Yes, yes. Anything you want to add, Jesse, in terms of this?
Certainly, and there are a couple of points that we'll kind of circle back to. Speaking about the neuroscience and sort of the anatomy of the brain, as much as we're wired for survival and threat detection, we are equally
Mhm.
wired for community and belonging.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and that idea of global oneness, I think that's where that becomes center point. And there's a refined model of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I think we're all familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but there's been a more recently refined model. And I'm not saying that it's perfect, but I am saying that it's easier to put your mouth around, that there are 6 basic human needs: food, water,
Yes.
sleep, shelter. We all understand those as concrete deliverables and needs that we have. The 5th is actually connection to
Uh-huh.
community, that sense of belonging. And the 6th one actually surprised me a little bit when I read it for the first time. It's that humans require and we need novelty. We need inspiration. We need newness. Our brains are evolutionarily wired to create new synapses and experience delight and inspiration. And so, to start to answer some of Dr. Sammy's questions on how do we do this, bringing together a program around oneness, it doesn't ignore your individuality or the multifaceted nature of who you are. It actually centers plural versalism, which is honoring more than one truth to be true. It's centered on decolonizing this idea of oneness as a blanket homogeneity, but really that each of us has a multifaceted nature that we're bringing to that. So I think it's important that we honor that. It's centered in Afro-Indigenous culture and in knowledge and wisdom. And so that's important as we're having the conversation about oneness. You can have this visceral reaction that, oh, does that mean I have to give
Mm.
up my individual humanity to be a part of global oneness? No, it doesn't. It means that you get to explore at a deeper level the inner standing of who you are, the contributions of how your DNA is knitted together, and how you contribute that to this idea of oneness together. And so I think as we start to get into the construct of what does Global Oneness Day look like, certainly there will be song, there will be dance, there will be chant. It is a moment of kumbaya, certainly to bring people together in harmony. It is also to create that deeper understanding of what are my unique contributions to how systems evolve and emerge. And to Nina's point about where youth become activated, this is one of the most civically minded, activated generations I have seen in a while. And I'm an elder to someone. I may not be an elder to Nina, but I'm an elder to someone. And
Yeah.
my 11-year-old daughter reminds me of that quite frequently. And so in that, I think we have this really beautiful moment that we're in where we can leverage technology to be really innovative, to be really creative, to bridge divides, to translate languages, so that I can speak to someone in languages that I don't understand necessarily, but be able to create those cultural norms in that fabric where what we all want is to be recognized. We all want to be in community, to experience that sense of safety. And then we also want to anchor ourselves in purpose. And I think that
Mm.
is one of the key components of Global Oneness Day and the Global Oneness Program is understanding what is your sense of purpose at this point in time, because having a sense of purpose and being able to activate that through leveraging technology and community is where we actually start to move from this abstract concept of what global oneness can mean to what we're trying to accomplish, which is saving lives.
Mm.
And the
Yeah.
CDC
Yeah.
has said that the 8th leading cause of death for children between the ages of 5 and 11 is suicide. So there are 5-year-olds, there are 7-year-olds who are saying, I don't understand my purpose, my sense of connection. I'm experiencing isolation. I'm therefore choosing to dim my light. And so yes, Global Oneness Day will have all of the fanfare and will also be an anchor in how we begin to systematically, structurally, and developmentally save lives by bringing forward purpose. Nina, you have a point you wanted to make.
Yeah, I want to grow on what you said because it was beautifully said, really, Jesse. And what we have to recognize that young people feel so disenfranchised because they are more endowed with consciousness than the generation prior. And they understand what's going on in the world. They don't know their role yet. And that's what we have to give them, that opportunity to explore. And if you realize that human beings are 99.9% the same, the only differences are our externals, and that's nothing. So why not? And if we look at all of the young people and we talk about consciousness, we can go vertical, we can go horizontal. Yes, we need to explore our relationship to the cosmos, to ourselves, and to the world. Totally.
I'd like to make a point on that too, and also address Dr. Mo's question, because I think we're all aware in 2020, the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics was awarded to 3 physicists for their experiments with entangled photons. And I think young people and even adults, we really need to know that oneness and connection is our nature. And these physicists offered one of the most profound scientific validations of non-locality, which points towards our interconnected oneness. And they showed that when 2 particles, such as a pair of photons, became entangled, they remained connected even when they were separated by vast distances. So this really challenges the classical idea of locality, that objects are only influenced by their immediate surroundings. And it also challenges the concept of separateness. It really suggests that particles can be part of a larger unified system, and that the universe is not made up of separate, isolated parts, but relationships and profound connections that seem to be there beyond space and time. And this is the oneness that mystics have been saying for centuries. And we know that quantum entanglement really reveals itself at the very tiny subatomic scales. And our bodies are fundamentally made up of particles, especially atoms, which are composed of even smaller subatomic particles like protons and neutrons and electrons. And every cell, every molecule, every particle in our body is governed by quantum physics. And these particles are constantly exchanging with the environment at large, and they're part of a larger universal field of energy and matter. And this field is a field of oneness that we're all one with. And we can even look to neuroscience, which really helps us understand oneness, as it shows that our brains are really wired. In fact, our brains doesn't even distinguish between, yourself and others, because even our mirror neurons in our brains fire not only when you perform an action, but also when you see someone else do an action. So these neurons allow us to feel what others feel. They form the biological basis of compassion and empathy and bonding with others through our inherent oneness. So if you're doing an act of kindness and somebody sees you do an act of kindness, they're more apt to do that. So oneness and connection is really our nature. It's in our biology. Like Nina said, over 99% of our DNA is the same. So our genetic makeup is almost identical regardless of our culture. So all life on Earth really shares a common genetic code and likely evolved from a single ancestral cell. So race, that is sometimes used as a form of separation, is a social construct, not a biological one. So genetics really reinforces that we're truly one human family.
I love that all of you are putting the science to it, right? Because I don't think we spend enough time actually talking about the science of oneness. We spend a lot of time, someone who's listening to this conversation, might, oh, it's all now fuzzy and warm and fuzzy, but it's not really practical. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit before we talk then about the Global Oneness Day and what it would look like. What are some of the interesting challenges you've been coming across having this conversation. I mean, particularly with you, Diane, I'm thinking with the UN and where the UN is right now in the world has become a bit of an interesting one that if we don't talk about it, we might not necessarily be addressing the elephant in the room. This is the UN still relevant in today's climate? But we'll do that after the break. I did say I'm going to be slightly controversial, just a little bit, and then we will talk a little bit then about what Global Oneness Day would look like. You're on the Leadership Masterclass, and we are talking global oneness. So we are talking about connection and unity. But here at Vuga Online Radio, we are also more music, more inspiration, and we'll be back after this piece of music.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What do you say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.
Great. You are on the Leadership Masterclass. We're chilling to leadership, but we're talking global leadership. We're talking global oneness. If you've missed the show up until now, you've missed the science of it all. Because for me, this is what I like. I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher, and but at the same time, I also understand spirituality because I think when you were talking about non-locality, I know that here on the spiritual framework on this continent, not for everybody, because there's obviously 2,500 odd different ways of relating spiritually here. But I have an experience where I would be walking in Kenya, in Malindi in Kenya, would be walking in KwaZulu-Natal, which is further south, and then I would be walking in Uganda, and I am getting the same energy pool where my body seems to remember that I've been there before and I've not even been. So I understand then that particles, energy and particle stuff from that perspective as part of the spirituality element of it. But I want to challenge a little bit something that someone listening might be saying that, well, look, there's so many wars that are happening now, Iran and Sudan and all of that. We don't have time for this. And I think, and then I'm addressing you, Diane, particularly, with the current president of the US, there's obviously been a little bit of a shift from how the UN is engaged. Where does this fit in this whole conversation? Does it even matter? Should we even be talking about it?
I think we just have to focus on the work that we're doing because we're responsible for holding the light, right? And we have to stay positive and we have to stay hopeful, as we said in the beginning, and we have to make the United Nations relevant. I mean, the initial inspiration was positive, and we still see wars in the world, but that doesn't mean that it always has to be that way. And that's why I think our Global Oneness Day is so important, because if people do recognize their oneness with everything, nature, animals, you know, we'd see a whole different world. And I think in one generation, it could change. And we could see the world that we really want to see, especially if we start like Nina and Sammy and Jesse. They work with young people. And that is so key. So if we create a curriculum based on oneness and there's actually a curriculum called the Living Values Program that teaches young children a value a week. So cooperation, sharing, and they were showing before and after that program in a video. And it was amazing. The kids were sharing their toys. My little nephew, who's 5 years old, he always says sharing is caring when his cousins don't want to share their toys. So if we just start when children are very young, excuse me, that's their inherent nature. So you feel, when you are acting on your inherent nature, you feel good. You can't go back to, fighting and conflict. When you live in this space of oneness, you want to stay there. So, and I have a feeling when
Yeah.
you went to those different places in Africa, you know, maybe a part of you, like you said, energetically was there. Maybe it was a past life that you shared on those
Yeah.
grounds. But, you know, I think it's really important that we hold the energy of what we want to do and not really be counter of anything. We really have to be for oneness and for the good and for the positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to ask this because I
Dr.
think
Mo.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes before you go, Jesse, because sometimes one of the objections that we would get would be, oh, well, look, the world is like this. And I like what you're saying that, look, it's a decision, right? We are making a decision in terms of what the focus is because energy follows attention. If you create an energy in terms of where you want to go, you can decide what you want to focus on. Jesse?
Yeah. And to that point, and Diane, to your point, I had a conversation with a brain surgeon about a year ago. And in the course of this conversation, one thing he said to me that still resonates today is that it takes 2 generations to oppress a people. 2 generations to oppress a people. And I sat in silence for a moment. And then I said, so then does it necessarily take 2 generations to liberate a people? And with scientific and spiritual interventions, can we expedite that process? Because the question then becomes, and to your point about where your energy follows your attention is, if we make a decision that the current set of systems that are built upon oppression in a lot of ways, if that's not working anymore, then what is the alternative that we can make time for? Because continuing to hail a bucket in a sinking ship doesn't seem to be the best use of energy. And so, what I think this group of luminaries is saying as we're working on global oneness is we have made a decision that we want to redesign the systems by which humans connect to each other and start that work of liberation through connection, through love, through soul purpose, and do so in a way that is built not only on science, but also spirituality and the marriage and the intersection of where those come together. Because you can throw rocks and you can throw stones and say, we don't have time for this. And I've built leadership development programs and tried to sell that to people who are saying, I'm busy eradicating malaria, right? But it's those capabilities of curiosity and connection that then help you develop the innovations and the systems and the products and the goods and the services that can actually help to eradicate malaria. So when we've made the decision towards liberation through love and developing systems and structures and communities around that, that's where we can start to expedite and catalyze that 2 generation timeline and compress it using all that we have in our toolkit today.
Sounds fantastic, Nina.
I was going to say, if people would recognize there's so many prophecies about this time, and we were born at this time to pioneer what is the potential to come. And the old forms, if we look at it, are crumbling. They're terrible. It's painful to see between climate crisis and dictator, but they will fall. And we have to create an environment for young people to step forward, to no longer imitate what has come before, but be asked to begin to imagine what would work for everyone. And so we're doing different programs around the world that understand this and reflect it. So we have a program coming up in Togo in August. See, we want to ripple effects, because nobody owns consciousness and oneness. We are oneness. That's all there is.
Yeah. So what's happening? Let's talk about that now. What are some of the programs that are taking place that are leading us to this? And maybe as a even follow-up questions, when is Global Oneness Day as an intention?
Oh. What we're going to be doing around the world is piggybacking on different conferences to bring youth into the arena, help them have a voice, learn what's going on, and then take it forward. So we'll be working in DC with the State of the World Forum. We're doing something in Togo, in Romania, and then we're working with the Rinpoche in Lumbini, which is the birthplace of Buddha. And so it's very, very sacred in a way. The whole idea is sprinkling it around the world and letting the young people develop it, connect with each other, and forward the understanding, because they need to be prepared, for this world is changing and the time is now. It's not tomorrow and it's not the past. It's right now. We have to activate as fast and as furious as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. And are we building to a particular date, Diane?
Sorry, so yes, we're our day is October 25th, and we really feel like establishing a UN recognized observance, because we know that the UN has international days, weeks, and years, is a really powerful way to shine global attention on an issue or value. So it's much more than just adding a date to the calendar. It can really mobilize collective goodwill and shift public consciousness and catalyze coordinated actions across the globe. So once it gets passed, which we're hoping that's going to be soon, we just think it will pick up very quick momentum from the grassroots up. And yeah, we'll do all sorts of celebration. And really it's celebrating the fundamental interconnectedness of all life across all cultures and nations and species and systems, and fostering synergistic collaboration. So that's what we're hoping to do, get in schools, get in, even governments, businesses, all over. We really want to build a lot of activities and curriculum. So yes, we think once it's passed, we'll be able to just hit the ground running. But Nina and others are already doing activities, and the humanities team has been doing activities for 15 years. They do the Global Oneness Summit. That's every October. So we encourage the viewers, the listeners, to tune into that. So yes, it's a lot going on already, but we think once it passes, it's going to accelerate, create a lot of momentum around the world.
Yeah. A day is only, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say a day is only as good as the activities and actions that are planned that go on with it. Yeah. And so we invite even your listeners to start to daydream. What is possible to recognize this?
Yeah. And because I think that's where I want to go now, to say what would be the invitation. But we need to take a break. But before we do, what is South Africa is currently, I'm based in South Africa, as the Grow Online Radio is based in South Africa. And then South Africa is hosting the presidency of the G20 this year. And one of the things that I've been working with quite closely is the values 20 piece that is, in a sense, aligned to the kind of work that the Global Oneness is trying to make. That says we continuously talk about all of these concepts, but not bring the humanity and Ubuntu, because we talk about Ubuntu as a concept here, and bring that humanity piece into it. Would there be a synergy and a connection there somewhere?
Absolutely. Yeah, Jesse, do you want to say? Do you want to?
I saw her head shaking yes.
Go ahead.
I think we were all affirming. The answer is yes, and how is the integration piece. I think in our dream world, there are these standing and existing forums, the G20, COP, Davos, all of those places where there's opportunity to integrate and co-produce segments around oneness. And I'm a learning designer by trade and by training. And so the idea of creating a multi-sensorial experience that sets the tone for how you bring your diplomacy into a space, leveraging oneness, that in some ways, the opening ceremony being a spot on oneness that really centers people into a room together, that then guides how they interact with each other and guides the cultural norms. That would be my dream of what integration would look like, because the opportunity is certainly there. And while we can create specific and syndicated programs in Togo, in Romania, in Washington, D.C., what we're really hoping is that oneness becomes the moral fabric by which we engage with each other in everyday interaction.
Yeah, yeah. You are on the Leadership Masterclass, and we are wrapping up with this global oneness. And I'm just excited about not just the science and the idea of it, but the activities that are taking place across the world. And I think when we come back, I want us to talk about where do people connect, what's the call to action? When someone is watching this, what do you need for them to do after this?
How do you know the life or personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
I have an exciting job. I'm just enjoying this conversation, just talking. I'm kind of like feeling quite inspired, and I'm going like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? So if anyone that's listening or watching across the world, because that's also what's interesting is particularly with this show, and the scary part is while we are based in South Africa, talking about non-locality, Diane, the number one streamers for this show are actually in the US, which is kind of very interesting. But if we talk globally, what listening to this, and I'm excited, what can I do as someone out there?
Sammy, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I was going to say that there's a lot that goes into getting the United Nations to adapt a day. It doesn't come that easy. So one of the things that we will love people to help out with, if you have any form of connection, any form of relationships with foreign ministers or diplomats, permanent missions to the United Nations, we will need your help because we want to leverage on your connection to these individuals, and then we can utilize it to get our proposal to get to the General Assembly for a vote on. Other than that, well, you cannot be successful without money. Money is important, whether you like it or not. It's always the elephant in the room. Nobody likes to talk about money, but the fact of the matter is that moving from one place and lobbying people and championing an idea costs a lot of money. We need to print a lot of flyers, resources, use a lot of stuff to get things done. So money is not our object, but we will never reject it. If you send it our way, we will love to have it so we can get the work done. And finally, we need volunteers. Listen, this can only be possible when people like us, all of us here, volunteer our time to make this happen. And so you can equally volunteer your time, even in your local country, to make this happen. Nina talked about spirituality. Listen, when we connect our energies together, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that positive vibe will help those leading the front to keep going. So, hey, support us.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I want
Nina,
to
go ahead.
piggyback on that if it's okay. I think also if people are creative and begin to imagine what could they create in their own community that would represent that oneness and experiencing the values and taking them out into that community and then informing us so that we can add that into the basket to illustrate to the world what is going on. So you will be recognized for your good work, and we will appreciate it because the world will become better. So thank you.
Fantastic. It looked like you wanted to add something there.
No, Nina, actually, they both totally took the words out of my mouth as I was going to say the same thing. But one more thing that I could add is have an experience of oneness. So meditate or take a mindfulness course or, some sort of practice that really connects you with everything. I think that really is a direct route to oneness. And then once you're in that energy, I think so much comes out of it. So then you think about what you can do in your daily life to really embody and promote oneness and, something that really pulls you because every action is really registered in the field and affects the whole. So, it could be something like, cleaning up your town or volunteering, in your child's school or, creating an activity where people can come together and do a synchronized meditation about peace. So yeah, there's so much that you can do. And yes, as Samuel was saying, if you have a connection to a government, please let us know because we need as much support as possible. The UN has many countries and we want them all to support this Global Oneness Day resolution.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. It's so nice to have this conversation, but the time is completely gone. It catches on very quickly. But closing words, we can start with you, Jesse. Jesse, what would be that one line that you leave everybody with?
Mm. To daydream. It's one of the gifts that Nina gave me very early on is daydream about what you see. And so to Diane's point, if you close your eyes and imagine at 1:11 p.m. local time on October 25th, where are you geographically? What are you doing to contribute to oneness? How do you experience that? Daydream about that, and that will then lead to how you can contribute. Because if that is activating in regional hubs across the world, and there is an online digital community where people can join in, as Sammy said, it requires resources, certainly. So if you are a funder, please come our way. If you are connected to the UN, please come our way. And at the individual level, imagine how you want to experience oneness on that day. Because as you daydream, that's your consciousness speaking to how oneness feels and how you or want to experience that. And then you can backwards engineer, how do you make that happen? Because we want a global contribution and activation so that if we were all contributing on that day, a particular time, imagine the frequency of the earth and what can come forward from that.
Fantastic. Closing words, Diane?
Well, thank you, Jesse. That's beautiful. Yeah, oneness truly speaks to our common destiny. And I think everybody's deepest values deep down. And it will really ensure that future generations will not suffer the effects of separateness that our generation is enduring right now. So let's all come together and do what we each can to make this special day, Global Oneness Day, happen. And it will be a day when the world remembers who we truly are.
Yeah, fantastic. And Sammy?
Absolutely. I agree with all that they've said. The truth is that we are one people, irrespective of our backgrounds. And so what we are asking is that be part of history, because history will be made with or without you. So be part of it and bring your energy and let's get it done. Thank you.
Yeah. And finally, Nina.
I am one with the whole.
Yeah, I love it. So when someone wants to reach out and connect, where do they go?
They can go to
everywhere.
they can go to my email address. It's Diane Williams at Source of Synergy. That's with an S, synergyfoundation.org.
Sourceofsynergy.org. And then I think we'll also write it down somewhere.
Synergy Foundation, sourceofsynergyfoundation.org. And I don't know if anybody else
So
wants to give their contact information.
Yeah. So we'll write it down somewhere so that at least people know where to go when they want to volunteer, when they want to share some information. And I think with you, Nina, as well, I'll connect with you and then you can share that information so that we can do that. If you are listening, for me, one of the things that is always interesting is the world only changes because we want to. So the question is, what do you choose in this instance? This has been a very fantastic and inspiring conversation. I'm looking forward to connecting and seeing where this thing is going and how I can help. October the 25th is emblazoned in my head. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Semi. Thank you, Diane. And thank you, Jesse, for being with us this morning.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuga Online, your inspiration radio station.